that's my sister. Yeah, so my name is, just right now, my name is Claire Gallagher. The spelling is C-L-A-R-E, last name Gallagher, G-A-L-L-A-G-H-E-R. Okay, so I'm going to begin.
Wait, hold on. Can you move in a little bit so you can get
Yes.
everything? I know there's social distancing. There's only so much you can do.
No, I'm wearing a mask. It's okay. We're outside.
Ms. Gallagher, who are you speaking on behalf of? Who do you represent?
I'm speaking on behalf of over 1,000 to 2,000 neighbors in the neighborhood and
You're a
Stop
homeowner
UPS.
here in Yonkers?
Yes, I grew up in the house.
Okay.
Parents bought here in 1956.
All right, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we're ready, I'll begin. So as I said, good afternoon. My name is Claire Gallagher, and I grew up and presently live just behind this property. For the last 9 months, my neighbors and I have actively opposed the scope of development proposed at this site. We have also been largely ignored by Yonkers City government while we've watched and listened to the building being gutted even before the project was fully approved. For over 60 years, the warehouse operations here have had minimal impact on our neighborhood. What UPS is planning to do here is going to drastically change that and negatively impact our everyday quality of life. The result will be an increase in traffic here on Tuckahoe Road, as well as in our residential neighborhood. Everyone in the area will also have to live with a lot more pollution. Air pollution, noise pollution, gas fumes, and a lot more. Again, we will be living with the facility spillover of all of this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I ask you, when do we get a break? UPS is planning to open the largest distribution center in Westchester in the Bronx. This massive round-the-clock distribution center and refueling depot planned for this site will be an intense operation. Again, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Each day, UPS delivery trucks, about 250 UPS delivery trucks, 42 tractor trailers, and hundreds of employee vehicles are going to enter and exit this site. Much of this activity is going to take place between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And there will also be activity during the morning and evening rush hours. 3 sides of this property are residential. 3 sides. We had hoped that the City of Yonkers Planning Board would do their job and look out for the interests of the tax-paying citizens. But instead, they tossed our very legitimate concerns aside and gave UPS everything they wanted, including 2 enormous 12,000-gallon above-ground fuel tanks that will be placed mere yards from our homes and even closer to a very busy crosstown road and some already overloaded intersections. Both the City of Yonkers and the Yonkers Planning Board refused to take a hard look at the negative environmental impacts of this site development and did not require UPS to prepare an environmental impact statement. In addition, they allowed UPS to construct a parking lot on green space that the property owner had committed to keep forever green when an earlier project at this site required zoning variances. The City of Yonkers and the Yonkers Planning Board clearly sided with the huge corporation and not their constituents. Because the City of Yonkers has ignored our concerns, we feel we have no choice but to file Article 78 proceedings in Westchester County Supreme Court. With that, I would like to introduce Attorney Zach Oliva from Keane Beane, who along with Attorney Joel Sachs are representing our neighborhood in our fight to preserve our property values and our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zach Oliva. I'll spell it for you. It's Z-A-C-H-O-L-I-V-A, and I'm an attorney with Keane Beane, which is K-E-A-N-E, and Beane, B-E-A-N-E, PC, and we're located in Westchester, New York. Keane Beane was retained to represent several homeowners and civic organizations in the area of the proposed UPS facility, and last week our office filed an Article 78 proceeding in Westchester County Supreme Court which named the City of Yonkers Planning Board, Roman Kozicky as Chairman of the Planning Board, Vincent Pici as Commissioner of the Housing and Buildings Department for the City of Yonkers, UPS, as well as the owner of the site, Alfred Weissman Real Estate LLC, and its subsidiary, Tuckahoe Owners LLC, as respondents. The petition seeks to overturn 3 recent decisions by the City of Yonkers Planning Board that will allow for construction of this massive UPS distribution center at 555 Tuckahoe Road in Yonkers. The State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQRA, requires the lead agency, which is in this case the City of Yonkers Planning Board, to take a hard look at any environmental concerns that a proposed project may create. The lead agency is required to force the applicant to prepare an environmental impact statement if the proposed action may have significant environmental effects on the surrounding area and the environment. The Yonkers Planning Board in this case did not require an environmental impact statement, and this shows that the Planning Board truly didn't take a hard look at the environmental concerns that are posed. An environmental impact statement would have provided the community, the city, and especially the nearby residents the opportunity to review their concerns relating to this application. It would have given them the opportunity to participate in the process and impose some measures that could mitigate their concerns. Instead, this project was quickly pushed through the application process in the middle of a pandemic. The project, the use that UPS is proposing for this area simply does not fit when it's surrounded on 3 sides by residential neighborhoods. UPS was allowed to waltz through the application process with virtually no compromises or changes to their initial proposal. And most importantly, there was no meaningful participation on the part of the residents. The UPS facility raises numerous environmental, public health, safety, and quality of life concerns for the people of this area. Among them is the 24/7 operation of the facility, pollution, noise, air quality, and lighting. This is a drastic change from the use of this property previously. The construction of an above-ground gas tank is of particular concern. This gas tank will be used to fuel tractor trailers in the facility, and the current plan is to have 2 large above-ground gas tanks installed on this property. That's a use that's not allowed under the Yonkers City Code, but is nonetheless being installed here. There are other distribution centers throughout the city of Yonkers, none of which allow for above-ground gas tanks. In a neighborhood like this, where there are people residing so close to the actual facility, an above-ground gas tank is dangerous and should have been considered by the planning board. The application for this project was filed in January 2020 and moved forward expeditiously. The planning board never brought in any outside consultants to review the environmental concerns and never really challenged UPS's plan for the use of the facility. Nearby residents did not have the opportunity to speak with the applicant. They didn't have the opportunity to speak with the planning board and raise these concerns publicly, as is the case in almost any large-scale project in Westchester County. In general, the residents in this area feel as if they've been locked out of this process. This project was originally on the planning board agenda in February, and the residents found out about it in March. When residents found out about the application, they contacted the planning board and asked for an extension of time where they could review the application, consider their concerns, and come back with a plan for some remedial measures. That application was denied. When COVID-19 occurred, public hearings were no longer allowed to take place. People who live in the area could not attend virtual proceedings. They were able to watch on TV, but they were never able to meaningfully participate in the application as it went through the planning board. This means that people in the neighborhood couldn't speak with the planning board, they couldn't speak with the applicant, and their concerns could not be addressed during this application process. In sum, the decision not to require an environmental impact statement shows that the Yonkers Planning Board failed to take a hard look at the environmental concerns of this project. They failed their residents by failing to fully vet and investigate the environmental, safety, and quality of life concerns that this project raises. The petition seeks to rectify that and provide the public with a meaningful opportunity to participate in this process. Thank you very much. Anybody else ready to speak?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
Is this a lawsuit? Is it commonly considered a lawsuit?
It is. It's filed in Supreme Court, so it's an Article 78 proceeding, so it would be considered a lawsuit.
Okay.
And what's
But, so say it's a special proceeding in Supreme Court.
A special proceeding in this,
Yeah.
but for our viewers, and like I'm questioning, what does proceeding mean? It is technically a lawsuit.
It's a lawsuit, and the
Okay.
relief sought is relates to the secret process. So the relief that we're seeking is to undo.
I just wanted to make sure I could use the word lawsuit for people who don't know what a proceeding might be, and that I wouldn't be incorrect.
It's a form of a lawsuit.
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Sure.
What was the space previously used as?
It was used as a storage facility. There was some construction equipment that was kept here. General just storage. So there weren't people coming in and out. It wasn't a shipment facility. So the UPS use is going to increase traffic substantially because there are people coming out at all hours of the night. There's more trucks, and the things that are being stored here are obviously being taken in and out more frequently.
And, is there a win-win in this situation where do you see a possible win-win where this facility can be a UPS facility and then also the residents can, be pleased with their neighborhood?
Well, the win-win would have been if an environmental statement was created, and then the residents could participate in that. And then there are certain mitigations that could have taken place earlier, and that can still happen here. So if the city works with the residents and UPS works with the residents, there's always the opportunity that certain changes can be made. And in the event those changes are made, that could help move this forward.
Has the construction already begun that you're suing about?
Yes. Yes, it
When
has.
did it begin?
March. February. It
February or March?
February.
It began already in February.
Began already in February. There was already activity in February, and it continued on throughout the pandemic.
And it is still ongoing.
It's still ongoing. Yes. They're working as we speak right now.
Thank
And
you.
even when non-essential construction was halted, construction here continued, mostly with out-of-state, non-union construction people. You could tell by the license plates. There was nobody from Yonkers here.
Thank you.
Now, what will you tell the people of Yonkers who believe that lots of jobs will be created by this facility?
I would tell them that as residents of Yonkers, you would need to consider what if this was your neighborhood. And there's a certain way that the planning boards and the city and local city councils need to consider any possible project of this magnitude. And the use has to fit with the surrounding neighborhood. And there are ways to mitigate the problems, there are ways to mitigate the noise, there are ways to mitigate the environmental dangers, and all those things need to be considered before you approve a project like this. So before we look at the end result, let's not push forward too far and let's concentrate on doing it right.
And have you reached out to the planning board, and what have they conveyed to you?
I haven't personally. Joel Sachs is attorney at Keane Beane, and he spoke with, he did a lot of the work on the petition. They'll be available for questions later, but I haven't personally spoken with them, so I can't comment.
Claire, have you reached out to the planning board?
We have not had the opportunity to reach out to the planning board. Again, since March, all of the meetings have been virtual. We've only been able to write letters and send emails, and they've largely been ignored.
When are you guys hoping for a decision that will either allow things to proceed or a decision in your favor?
Well, we just filed it this week, so it's been moved into the environmental part of Westchester Supreme Court. So we're just starting out at this point. As far as a decision, we won't know for some time.
And as far as moving forward, they've been moving forward the whole time.
Yeah, so this will continue as you wait for a decision.
In May, but there is an application on our behalf to stop the
And the decision will come from the state Supreme Court?
Westchester County.
Westchester County Supreme Court.
That's where it's venued right now.
Thank you.
Just
My
the state Supreme
understanding-
Court in Westchester County. just to clarify.
It is the state Supreme
It's
Court.
the state Supreme Court in
Okay.
Westchester County.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that this organization doesn't want to stop the presence of UPS entirely, only to mitigate all the harmful effects on the neighborhood by maybe downsizing some of what they're planning here.
Yeah. The issue with the petition is that the environmental impacts of a project of this magnitude need to be properly evaluated and addressed, and we don't believe that that happened here.
How many people are represented under this lawsuit?
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000. It's 2 civic organizations and then several individual homeowners as well.
Thank you.
And I'll point out to everybody, the new construction, a lot of it is taking place on the back of the building. So we're in the front right now, but the new parking lot they put in is behind it on the other side. So if you want to go back there and take a look, and you can also see how close everything that's being added on the back is to the new property, is to the properties back there. So there's houses that abut the back end of the property, and they're expanding towards those homes. And there was a green space there, and now they're building employee parking that's getting closer and closer to the neighborhood in the back.
And what you see there today isn't what's, they have approval to build more than what you see today. Again, that was always green space, and that was always somewhat of a buffer between the neighborhood and the businesses.
And if I heard correctly, this facility is surrounded on 3 sides by residential.
Right across the street you have cooperative apartments. On Mountaindale Road you have homes, and on Bonnie Briar and Galemore Drive it's all residential.
And as Joyce can attest, you can hear and smell things happening blocks away already.
Yeah, I'm 3 blocks away almost.
Not to mention the added traffic on Tuckahoe Road, which is already a very busy road.
And although the 3 sides are residential, just across the Sprainbrook Parkway from there are other residences who can also hear what's going on. They're not immediately bordering it, but they can hear it.
And they've come to the protests because they're already listening to it all night long.
So what do you do now going forward? Do you just wait?
There are conferences with the court that are going to be set up in the next week or so.
What do you mean, conferences?
Well, it's a new lawsuit, so we just started.
Yeah.
So it's been assigned a judge. The judge would reach out to us, and then we would meet with the attorneys for the other side, and that's how the lawsuit begins. Ultimately, we would get in front of a judge, and they would argue the motion, which the motion papers we filed already. But typically, the court would like us to meet with the other side and have a discussion.
And any anticipation as to when that'll be? Over the next few weeks, few months, next year?
Next few weeks, probably safe to say.
Next few weeks?
Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you.
I did have one question, a couple questions about the StopUPS.org organization. So who started, was it something started in Yonkers, or is it another group that's more so?
It was started by me.
Okay.
With great help from my brother-in-law, I should add. I wanted it to be a forum where a place where people, our neighbors, could go, for it to act as a kind of bulletin board, so that they could find out what was going on with the project, find out when the planning board meetings were, encourage neighbors to write letters, all of that. A site where they could go to gather information. Again, this was all happening really right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. So our resources, I had gone door to door with the petition up until March 15th, gathering signatures from neighbors opposed to the project, but I had to stop those efforts when the pandemic started. It was no longer safe to do that.
So you started in like March-ish, or?
I actually started the petition at the very end of February.
It is.
Yeah.
That's all the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. I do appreciate